here we are.
Welcome to the zoo.
Why do they all...
Elliot, sit down. Yeah, you got to tell him to sit. Sit your butt.
Okay.
There you go.
So, this episode...
I love the chaos of this episode.
I've kissed 2 dogs today.
So, Ashleigh's being kind of a...
We're going to take that out.
Just kidding. We're talking about therapy.
Producer cam is turned on this time.
You're being videotaped?
Yeah, just in
Ooh.
case.
Oh my god, we're getting so
wait, should we bring him into the group?
If I say anything witty.
Honestly, he's very like I've said this to him, like he has such an inquisitive brain, and I feel like he does kind of have the personality type that could like work well for a therapist.
Yeah.
He's just he has some insights sometimes where I'm like, "Oh, like you could do this if you like
we need more
trained.
male therapists. I feel like
That's the exact recommendation I heard from a friend of mine who is a not a nutritionist, but like I guess she is a nutritionist, but she was like, you know what, she was like, it was like that drunk honesty. It was after a comedy show.
you're like, give it to me.
They had a couple. She was like, you know what you should do for a living, Tom? And I was like, what? And she was like, you should be a therapist. And I was like, really?
He'll be
I
our
do
first
think he
male
would be.
hire.
Oh my god.
Because she was like, there's never enough guy therapists.
No.
Yeah.
And you're really good at getting stuff out of people.
And you'd be relatable. Like, I feel like if
That
there are
too.
male therapists, they're like
Yeah.
not relatable.
No, they're like old and they just do CBT, and like how they do it is just like so weird.
When I see CBT, I go, delete, next.
That's what's so funny is I had a CBT therapist once that was a guy, and all he did was just like, oh, so you should just do this. Like,
Just change your
Just
thoughts.
do that. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, so, but like, we're not talking about how I feel about anything.
No. It's like, just change the thought you had. You're like,
What hell?
isn't that why I'm here?
Exactly. But I took an honest look at it because I was already in college for accounting in that brief time. And I was like, I cannot do more school.
It's a lot.
Can you turn down my headphones again?
Go headphone.
Yeah.
How about that? Is that better?
I don't hear.
You don't hear any difference at all?
That's a little bit of a difference.
How about that?
That's definitely so much better.
How do
Okay.
we want it to sound in our ear?
Oh, that's so much better.
Wait, try mine.
I just felt like
Wait,
I was
we're so
hearing
annoying.
everything.
You should hear everything. That's the
No, but like
point of them.
everything to like it was like my brain.
hello.
My brain didn't like it.
Hello?
How's that?
Can you hear anything different?
I can, yeah, I'm lower. That's better.
Okay. It was really loud.
Is it just lower, or do you want it even
No,
lower?
no. This is like if
Oh,
you
this
got
is
any
good.
lower,
can,
I
like,
wouldn't be able to hear
I
anything.
can hear myself and I can hear you, but I can hear you more than I can hear myself,
That's good.
which is what I want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hit record. We're recording. Okay.
Oh, we're recording.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's
I'm like
nice.
itching my nose.
Sometimes it's nice to do like a soft start, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I was just saying this to Tom. I was like, I'm just so fucking tired from the week. Like, I don't want to have to come up with an articulate, intelligent
Well,
thought.
this week was my last week at Riverwards.
Was it?
Yes.
How was it?
It was good. My last day was February 28th
Okay.
because we're in the future right now.
Oh my God, what's today? Oh my God, it's fucking March 1st.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
So it was good. It was sad. There was one client that I transitioned out with, and it was my first ever therapy
Oh my
client. And we
gosh.
cried.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
She was such a gem. But a lot of people are coming with me. Hello.
No, I love that though.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
a
how do
busy
you
week.
feel like, what is that like to transition?
It's bittersweet. I was scared
Yeah.
to take that step, but also excited because I feel like I'm ready for it. But I'm really lucky because a lot of my clients are coming, but the ones that aren't, I'm definitely sad
Timer, please. Yeah, well, I guess my question would be like, did some of them were just transitions or some of them were like, hey, you don't need?
So some of them were transition. Some were like, okay, I still have things I want to work on, so I want to come with you.
Yeah.
Some of them were like, now that you're leaving, I think it's a good time to reflect on the work that you've already done, and if it's time to maybe transition out and take a break.
Yeah.
Some people were like, I just think I'm in a good place now. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So maybe that was like a universal sign for.
I was like, I think it's meant to be.
Yeah, for other people. Like
Yeah.
maybe you needed to do that for
I was
them
like,
to
fly,
my little bird.
fly, my little bird.
I say that to families all the time. I'm like, look, I'm trying to work myself out of a job here. And it's a little bit different because you're doing like more, I would say, like long-term, like in-depth work. But I say that to parents all the time where I'm like, I don't want you to want me forever.
How long do you normally work with families?
I think it depends. Like it kind of depends on the age. It depends on if they're like a high support needs person or a lower support needs person. Like when I was working in an ABA agency, I did have the opportunity to graduate. I think it was one. I graduated one.
They had like hit like their goals or.
Yeah, and they were doing so well, and like the service just felt too intensive for what they needed. I was like, you know what? A really nice step down would be like, let's get you in some talk therapy, so that way you can still process these things.
I
but
feel so nice. You're like, you're doing it.
Yeah, we were at the time of discharge, we were working on some like really high level like ACT based skills. And so I was like, you should go to a different provider.
Yeah.
Like you don't need ABA 6-10 hours a week. Like that's really intensive, and I think for the family, I think that it was tough for them because they had been in the service for a long time.
It can be scary.
It was really scary for the parents. Yeah. It was scary because they were so used to all of this support. Yeah. And then they were like, oh no, like what if something happens? And then I don't have these people to talk to. I
feel like my clients feel like when I told them, I gave all my clients a month's notice of letting them know I was leaving. And I could tell that some of them were like, I'm ready to leave, but I'm scared of not having the security blanket of therapy. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. You can always reach out, like your families, right? Like if something were to happen, you can always, reach out and re-engage. But it's also a good opportunity to see, all the work that you've done and like trusting yourself with that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I just realized? What? We haven't introduced the podcast. So welcome. This is Friends Living Well. Neither of us are Nikita. You'll notice.
Nikita's not here today.
Nikita just had a life-changing surgery.
Yes.
That she's healing from. So Ashleigh is here to fill in.
I'm back.
She's back. Honestly, I feel like we should make this more of a regular thing because I love talking with Ashleigh. So yeah, we're Friends Living Well. We're both therapists, but we're not going to give you therapy through the podcast. If you go
to fulllivingwellness.com and you can schedule an appointment.
Yes, exactly. So we can't diagnose you, and this is like a lighthearted, fun, laid-back conversation between two people that happen to be therapists. So if you need therapy or you need a diagnosis, again, inquire at our website, and then we will give you resources because we have a ton of resources.
We have so many resources,
and it's really awesome because my other coworkers at CHOP are like building a resource list.
I love
and
it.
That's why I was asking you, like, I think it was this week and last week, like who's who, what's what, like what can I add?
No, we have a really good list of people, and we've been doing a lot of meetings with like other clinicians, other wellness professionals, like a really wide range from like therapists, psychiatrists, breathwork professionals.
Breath work. I thought
pelvic floor specialists.
Yes.
I was like, this is cool.
I was like, these people are like coming out of the woodwork. I know. I'm like,
come.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Come one, come all.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I also think that that's kind of like what sets us apart as like people and Full Living Wellness is that we're people that are willing to like have conversations with other people and really meet therapists and like have genuine conversations. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, I hear this thing is good, but they've never actually talked to the people that work there.
Yes.
So I think that's really important.
No, I agree. And I think that's one of the big things with me and Nikita is we don't want to, like, we will refer clients to, places that we've, people we've never heard of, but we will say, we've heard about this place, but we don't know them personally, so we're not sure about how their services are. But we really want to refer people to people that we have vetted and we've spoken to and that we feel confident about.
Yes. Yeah. That's how I feel about like ABA places. And those are so few and far between. That I have I feel like I have 5 places that I would be like, I know this person, I know what model they're doing, and I know that they're doing it a little bit differently than typical ABA agencies. So I'll be like, you can go there. But
and I feel like you don't need that many referral sources. It's just having a good the quality.
For ABA it's a little different because there's such a significant need and wait lists are so long that it's we need more better because there's so many that aren't good.
Are there not as many ABAs out there as the demand
there's
demand that there is?
A ton of ABA agencies. Okay. There's a million. We're actually quite saturated in this area. Okay. However, this is going to be my ABA agency soapbox.
We're going to have a moment.
Let's just get into it. So
I've been waiting for this.
I do not, and Tom's just fuck yeah, in the background. The medical model of ABA is, to me, not what is the best for children. Mm-hmm. It's not what's best for families. And what we're seeing is we're in a very saturated area. We have a lot of ABA agencies available. But a lot of these agencies are backed by private equity investors. Some of which, if you follow the money, actually donate a lot of money to people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all of that.
Which I find so interesting because it's so funny you brought this up because I actually had a conversation with someone recently about how large therapy practices are being bought out by, these CEOs and these investment people that know nothing about any of the work or therapy or any clinical work. So it completely changes the values.
I'm pulling up this link because I have a friend that I went to grad school with who's also a BCBA, and I love what he's been posting on LinkedIn lately because he's been following the money for specific
I love
ABA agencies, and he's figuring out who are their investors and then who they're backed by. So Hope Bridge Autism Therapy is backed by a PE firm.
That's so interesting.
That is involved in a civil action lawsuit.
But why? Why are these big people or companies buying out or investing in these ABA programs?
There's another, because it's money making, because it's money and it's insurance. So basically, when you get these PE backed people, you get these guys, I'm gonna say guys, that have a crap ton of money, and they're well, let's throw it into this revenue source that we know there's a super high rate of children that are diagnosed with autism. ABA is the most evidence-based treatment. I've said I don't like those terms in previous episodes, for autism, and there's such a need in the community. And so what they're doing is they're hey, I have this money, let's start up this company. And they will start this company, and basically, and I've worked for a company like this, basically what they say is you need to take on a specific number of clients and you need to provide a specific number of hours in order to make
you become an ABA robot.
Correct. So the problem with a lot of this that's going on is that there's this magical number that we're chasing. So it's really interesting, and I think this will also go into critiques of autism, of ABA. Mm-hmm. So have you ever heard of Lovas and the study that he did in the 80s? So there's this guy named Lovas, and he kind of was one of the first people to kind of marry the idea of ABA and autism. And he did this really intensive study where they provided 40 hours a week of intensive ABA to children with autism. And by the end, and they did it for 40 hours a week for a very long period of time.
I want to say full work. That's crazy.
I want to say maybe it was like a year or more. And at the end of the study, basically a certain percentage of the children were then indistinguishable from their peers. So much to unpack there. Okay. So
that's not like, how is it ethical to have these kids in ABA?
They were babies. From my understanding, they were young. They were young. So there's a lot to unpack there. So Lovas did this study. He said 40 hours a week is like the magic golden ticket. Mm-hmm. So now other places arbitrarily are saying, to get the most like benefit, you need this many hours. Then the PE people, the private equity investors are like, oh, money. So let's take on as many kids as we can. Let's give them the maximum number of hours that we can per week,
for all of that.
So we can bill for all of it and make more money, even though like individualized care means that not every child gets that. Yeah. And I have never, in my almost 10 years of being a BCBA, ever had a child receive 40 hours a week of ABA. The most that I've ever seen was like very high support needs, 18-month-old, 2-year-old that like couldn't talk, couldn't do a lot of things that were needed for them to like have a more meaningful life or engagement with people. Maybe 35 hours a week at most.
Like, what would that even look like? Like, how do you even do that many hours?
So it's kind of like almost like so this is another criticism. I see Tom pressing buttons.
The studies, the ASAT online just said that the study says 1-to-1 ABA instruction 40 hours a week for 2 to 3 years.
Yes. So it was for a really long time.
That's 10,000 hours.
That's insane.
It's long. Another thing I will say about that is that has never been replicated. The results that he reported in that study have never been replicated. The other thing that was going on, and there's video of this, Lovas was not implementing like a scent-based ABA. If anything, he was like engaging in abuse with those children. Like you would like see him like slap their thighs as like almost like a punishment for like not following directions or things like that. So the work that he was doing was like
was unethical.
It was unethical.
It's unrealistic.
It's never been replicated.
And it also doesn't take into the fact that each child is different, has different needs, like you were saying. Like
exactly.
If someone's really, really struggling, they're very low functioning, they really need the extra support. Okay, they might need 40 hours, but not everyone needs that.
Not everybody needs that. And like a big part of like our ethical code as BCBAs is that we're providing individualized treatment. And so when you work for these agencies that are like, some agencies will do hour minimums. Like if they want to take you on as a client, you have to receive 10 hours a week minimum or they won't accept you. I worked for an agency like that, which again, that is like, just if you look at the ethical code, it's like big X, right? Yeah. Like we're already not doing that.
That comes into all like the billing of like, we have to bill or we want to, it becomes so complicated when insurance is involved and all these higher ups.
Oh yeah. And then a lot of what you see with these like PE backed ABA agencies is that you see a lot of agencies taking on kids when the kids that are already in the agency aren't fully staffed. So I saw that a lot where I had kids that like maybe they needed 20 hours a week, right? But it was like in school support, you know, so they needed a one-on-one in school. That was the window. So like that, you know, they would then keep taking on clients, and then they wouldn't fully staff the clients that they already had. Or if they had clients, they would have clients that had like 7 or 8 different technicians working with them.
Well, and then what ends up happening is the quality of care goes down.
Terrible quality.
People don't realize, and I think this is a big thing, you know, at Full Living Wellness, is we're not accepting insurance right now. And a lot of people that don't understand how complicated insurance is are like, why are you not taking insurance? But because we're not taking on insurance, we're able to take on less clients and provide a higher quality of care. Yeah. We're not burnt out. We have more capacity.
Right.
And these places, because I've worked at similar places where they force you to work a certain amount of hours, overwork, have too many people on your caseload. you don't have enough capacity for your clients and the people you're working with.
Exactly. And so then it just creates like all of this burnout, right? Because then think of, and they also have billable hour requirements for BCBAs,
we had the same thing.
Yeah, which is like if your client cancels, then you're screwed for the week. And they
figure out how to bill.
And they make all of these like, oh, you can get bonuses based on this thing, but it's like it's inachievable because of like how the format's set up. And then, you know, poor quality care, you have 8 technicians working with 1 child. How am I feasibly, reasonably able to get to each technician, provide the training and supervision necessary to each technician, and make sure that they're doing what's best for the child?
Like the continuity of care, and also how is a child supposed to build a relationship? The relational, which is like the most important thing.
Exactly.
When there's 10 different people they're working
Exactly.
with.
It's a recipe for disaster. It's why a lot of BCBAs are unhappy. It's why a lot of families are unhappy with ABA. So it's kind of like the perfect storm, right? So you have practices that have been like publicized that are abusive. There's a history of misapplication. And I'm going to use that term because I think that that's the best way to describe it. ABA is not inherently abusive.
No.
Misapplication of a behavior analytic principles is what is abusive. So if you are not learning from autistic people and honoring neurodivergent and social learning differences, and you use ABA, that could be abuse.
Yeah. And which, you know, if you think about it in any, you know, approach or field or anything like that, like there can be abuse that happens. It just depends on how you're using, you know, the tools, the skills, the interventions. Like there is kind of a power dynamic and you can abuse that.
Think about any like medical care ever.
Yeah.
Why do we know so much about women's gynecological health?
Yes.
Because people were experimenting on women of color and forced sterilization, and they're doing it without pain meds, right? So there's a lot of things, and I don't want to discount the experiences of autistic people that have received ABA and 100%. Have been abused and have trauma. But I think it's also really important that like there are a lot of things that can be
and that there is a movement happening where there's people breaking away from that and really wanting to separate from that idea and that narrative.
And I think that we as BCBAs don't do a good job of sitting here and being like, like some messed up stuff has happened. People misutilize these things all the time. But to me, some of it is like more of a systemic issue. You know, like people are wanting to help people. They're wanting to get into a field because they, you know, enjoy working with children and helping them, you know, meet their full potential. But then they get thrown into these agencies that don't give a shit about them and they don't train them and they don't supervise them.
They get thrown into an abusive system.
And then they don't know any better. And not that it makes it okay, but I think that that's also why I've always been in like a BCBA coaching role in like every single one of my positions, because I believe so much that BCBAs need to be taught how to be a BCBA. None of this is inherent. And school programs don't really do a good job.
You don't learn.
No. I'm sure you walked out of your grad program and was just like, I'm supposed to do what? By myself.
I remember when I was in grad school, like calling Nikita and being like, I don't like know what I'm gonna do. And so, she was like, you'll learn once you're out there. I'm like, that's so true.
Which is true. But when you have the livelihood of the little babies,
it's scary.
And, you know, especially when we're talking about like high support needs kids that are nonverbal, right? The risk of them being harmed is so high, and it's so scary.
And the parents are putting so much faith in you. So it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it can be done poorly and it can be 100%. Done wrong. And so I think that like BCBAs, we have a platform. We could do a better job of like acknowledging the abusive history, but I also like, I gotta tell you, I'm sick of having to defend it. Like imagine if you told somebody what you did for a living.
I'm a therapist, and they were like,
and they literally went, ugh.
I know.
Like, that's crazy. Like, why is that so normalized?
I know.
That you hear what somebody does, you make a generalization about it, and then you can so obviously and blatantly be like rude about them. That blows my mind.
It blows my mind. I mean, I've like I was saying earlier, I never knew that, you know, I knew that there was stuff with BCBAs, but I never knew how deep it was.
Oh my God.
Until we took you on and we started being like, oh, we're offering these services with BCBA. And the first person, you know, that had a reaction, I was like, oh no, like what's happening? Are you okay? Had like a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not Kelsey.
Yeah. I do.
Is not Kelsey.
I have to say, I do feel that like my personality and some of the things that I do is a bit of an anomaly. I've met other BCBAs that don't talk about things the way that I talk about things or approach things the way that I approach things.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, she is a BCBA and she's also amazing.
I'm just so sick of the defending. I'm sick of having to defend it. I just think it's absurd.
So
like,
what is your approach to BCBA that is different than what you would say the norm or the narrative or the stereotype is of a BCBA?
That's a great question.
I know. That's why I'm here.
That's such a good question. I'm going to answer your question in a really nerdy way.
Let's do it.
I'm going to talk about this term. It's called functional contextualism.
Ooh,
do you like that term? Sarah Burby of Mind Body Behavior, shout out Sarah, she's a BCBA. She's also like a health and wellness coach, and she is she has created the first like nationally accredited course for BCBAs to become health coaches.
Wait, I love that.
Isn't that so cool? I kind of want to do it.
You should.
I know, right?
So I'm sorry, I'm going to ask a little bit, but like what is like how long is the program?
So I believe that it's like I think it's a couple months. I think it's kind of more of an intensive course, and I believe you get like 32 CEUs out of it.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So it's like you meet weekly. There's certain things you do. Do you want to?
That's kind of like the certification I did. That was like a couple, like for the somatic stuff. It's like a couple months.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's designed specifically for BCBAs.
That's so cool.
So that was actually not a part of like the response that you were looking for. The reason why I brought it up is because she just did a post on her Instagram about functional contextualism. And basically it's this premise that you can only understand behavior within the context in which it's operating. Yeah. So basically I think a shortcoming of some BCBAs is that they look at behavior analysis as ABA, and they understand ABA, how it applies to just one specific thing.
Yes.
Whereas I look at it from like more of a macro level of like, it is the science of behavior change. It's behavior analysis. And I'm going to analyze a circumstance and figure out what is preventing this from happening, period. So I'll give you an example. Like, I have a family that is really struggling with morning transitions. They're having a really hard time getting out of the house in the morning, and it's causing dysregulation and refusal behaviors, and everybody's having a hard time like as soon as they wake up. So we were talking about it, and I was like, well, a very basic recommendation is like this thing, it's called the Premack principle, which is basically first you do this, then you get the rewarding thing, right? So first you need to put your shoes on and put your backpack together, and then we can draw and watch TV. Right? Very natural way to build in behavior analytic strategies into your house. They were having a hard time doing first then because all the drawing stuff is like everywhere in the house. And then I was like, okay, so the drawing stuff is everywhere. Can we put it in its own place?
When you like contain it.
And they were like, well, like, I don't think we're very organized. Like, we don't have enough stuff. And so then like my mind started going, and I was like, okay, so it's not that you don't want to do this thing. It's just the literal environment that your house is set up in is not allowing you
to be done.
So I spent the rest of the time on that call. They were walking me around their house, and we were like Marie Kondoing the house. And I was like, put stuff this way, do this, do that. So that way they could actually do the thing that I'm recommending.
Yes. It's like a barrier that is standing in the way of them being able to get to the next
step. So to me, that's like functional contextualism. Yes. That's like understanding that there's all these other behavioral things going on. And if you continue to modify the environment just outside of a first then prompt, then you can actually be way more successful.
Which makes so much, like, we don't... I'm sorry. I'm like I'm like taking a moment.
Did I just blow your mind?
I'm just taking a moment to absorb the fact that people think that like behavior is just like in a bubble. Like it's
but it's
nothing
true.
else is happening. Like life is happening around us.
I know.
As things are happening within us and as we're doing things.
But I think that in grad school they teach to a subject. They teach to like they tie behavior analysis to autism, and they tie it to like reducing problem behaviors.
It's black and white.
Right. But that's not.
No.
If you actually understand the science of behavior analysis, you can use it outside of just autism, which is also why I brought up Sarah Burby, because Sarah is providing supervision to people that are BCBA candidates who want to get supervision outside of the lens of autism.
Yes, but still using. Well, I also had a question about that, about like for with BCBA, is it that you can only use it with autism, or people just use it mostly with autism?
It's mostly used with autism.
But other areas
so
could benefit.
many
like,
other
what
applications.
Other areas do you feel like could benefit?
Animal training. Because I used to, when I was in grad school, there was actually a cohort that was like I think they had master's level and doctorate level programs, but they partnered with a local animal shelter, and they used behavior analysis to train dogs to make them more adoptable.
Wait,
so if there was
come over and help me with my dog?
So if there's like dogs that were like biting the leash and they were like jumping on people and stuff,
like anxious or like
But that's also again one of the criticisms. People are like, ABA is robotic. It's
not. It's just understanding behavior.
We
are animals.
Well, and I think that that's true. Our behavior analytic principles that were researched were originally researched with animals. It was like B.F. Skinner was training pigeons and rats.
Well, isn't most science like it's just
Yeah, but again, like we're the worst. But like, so that's why it's like Lovaas was one of the first guys to start like marrying that idea, right?
Yeah.
But then he's like was doing a bunch of fucked up shit, and so everybody's context and lens is like, this guy.
Hello,
this guy.
It's like you were almost there, and then you had to be like abusive.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, the other thing that like is a big criticism of ABA is like the Lovaas method was very much like sit in a chair, sit in a table, match same, and I'll shove a cookie down your mouth.
Which once again is like we were talking about with like behavior in like a contained space. It's
Correct.
not like life is in the black and like in the gray area. It's not in the black and white.
There are some kids and some skills that you need to sit at a table and you need to learn to match same. But you should be doing it for like broader implications. And like, again, I'll get nerdy about it, is the reason why I would want to teach a kid to match same or to identify a sock. So one of the ABA procedures that is typically done, it's called discrete trial teaching, where basically you sit a kid at a table and you put like 3 cards out, and one's a picture of like an apple, a banana, and a pair of socks. Okay. And one of the procedures you would do would be like touch the socks, and you would teach the kid to receptively identify and touch the sock. Why would you do that? Why would you teach a kid to receptively identify a picture? If they are really high support needs and they struggle with receptively identifying items in their environment, sometimes you need to break it down all the way to basic.
Contain it, so it's just those things.
And you have to teach it across what we would call operants. So you have to teach it receptively. You have to teach it expressively. You have to be able to match it. You have to be able to like use it in a sentence. Like you would need to do all of these things for some people in order to understand what a sock is.
Yes.
And the reason why I would do that is so that way if a kid is at home and mom says, go put your socks on, they know what a fucking sock is.
Yes, he's not grabbing a banana. Are we kissing?
So we're not insane. We shouldn't just do table work to do table work, but it should serve a long-term function.
Well, it's
this is absurd. Dennis, I'm like really passionately speaking about my career.
We're learning about but it's like it's a stepping stone. It's like gradually building up.
Yeah. it's basically breaking down. It's called shaping.
Yeah.
So you break the skill down into each of its individual pieces. You have to teach all those individual pieces. And if you're lucky, those pieces will blend together into a concept, and then the person can apply that concept.
Exactly.
Like,
no, I think you're an amazing and beautiful BCBA, and I am so happy.
It's not fucking random why we're doing what we're doing, but we don't explain it.
This. I'm like, can I get...
Yeah, dude, I'll teach you to receptively identify whatever you want. But the purpose, it serves a greater purpose. Yes. So we shouldn't just be doing table work just to fucking do table work and get compliance. Yeah,
you're not just doing it to do it. It has a larger...
Yeah. But everybody's like, oh, like it's all compliance based, which is like, is compliance a thing like that's important in some capacities? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what's more important is you should be able to teach context of like, when is compliance needed?
Yes.
Right?
Well, exactly. It's like,
and you gotta fucking comply to stuff in life. So that's the other thing is like, there's also this big movement that's like called like, I don't know. I might get a lot of hate for this. And I don't really care.
I feel like I know where you're going.
Everybody's like, oh, ABA has to be like child-led, neurodiverse affirming.
Yes.
ABA. And they're like putting it into a different category when it's like, if you're using ABA appropriately, like, why are you calling it something else? It should be neuroaffirming if you're doing it the right fucking way.
Well, exactly. BCBA, ABA work should just automatically be neuroaffirming. Like, that should be...
It's all in the same thing.
But unfortunately, not every ABA or BCBA is neuroaffirming.
No, but could you say that about everybody?
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that, like, it's important to have these conversations so we can learn and not engage in, like, abusive practices.
100%.
You know, it's good that we're being called out about this stuff and we're learning from autistic people. But my big beef is that we're now like trying to create different camps in ABA, and some of them are not actually based on the science.
Well, also instead of separating it out into different things, trying to down. Mom's mad.
I love you, but stop it.
Wait, he's obsessed with me.
Literally, he's such a lover.
We just kissed.
Yeah, will you kiss?
But instead of breaking it up and separating it out into different entities, why don't we just start changing the system?
Correct. And there are people that are changing the system, like Maggie at Unfurling Littles. Yes. Like, she has like the most beautiful clinic that's all like really, it's very child-led. It's very child-led, like neuro-affirming.
Beautiful.
And it's such a response, I think, to like abusive ABA practices.
Like, we want to show that you can receive these services in a safe, affirming, validating way.
She has like these awesome visuals that are just like, stop, like do you need to go hands-on? Like, it's like all these kind of like nice little prompts for the therapist to kind of be like, oh wait, like why am I doing
that?
Yeah, but I think my other beef though is like people are doing these amazing, you know, that they're trying to break the system.
Yep.
And they're coming up, but I don't want to put it in a different camp. I don't think that serves us.
Yeah.
I think that it all needs to be kind of in, but it also needs to be based on like the scientific principles, right? So if people are like, I want to do ABA, but I won't use positive reinforcement, bro, you're not doing ABA. You're not using behavior analysis. Like, reinforcement is what makes behavior happen in the future. And if you don't want to use edible reinforcers, like you don't want to pop a cookie in somebody's mouth, then don't pop a cookie in somebody's mouth. I want a cookie. But that's a big criticism, because I think we've very much in the history, we very much relied on like extrinsic reinforcers, which to me, we all need a little extrinsic reinforcement at times. Yeah, but should that be the only mechanism for behavior change? Absolutely not.
Well, there shouldn't be one thing for everything. It should always evolve and change and be based on the moment and what's needed.
Exactly. And like, you know, we also have to consider like, why are we making kids work for food?
Yeah.
Food should be had for free. We don't want to change your relationship with food and make you feel like you have to do stuff for it. But if I have a kid that's like beating the shit out of their parents and like might go to the hospital,
like, you're going to pull out a cookie.
I might give you Oreos for staying safe. And so I think that that's the other thing that is also, I think sometimes people are like, I'm not going to do this thing and I'm not going to use this ABA practice. And I think that they have the luxury of doing it because they're not working with people with high support needs that need more like restrictive interventions.
Well, yes, in those moments where it's like, okay, what is most important here? If safety is what's most important, then we need to do whatever we can to make sure that person's safe.
Exactly. So I think that, like, again, it's important. Like, healthy skepticism is so important. That is part of science.
Yes.
That is how we continue to grow. But, like, you know, I think I really am sick of the overgeneralizations.
Sir. Do you want a cookie?
Yeah, sit down and you'll get a cookie.
Well, once again, it goes back to context.
Yeah, it should. And I think that it's like, I think that, like, I'm just sick of defending it.
Well, we love you, and everyone should be in Kelsey's group. Everyone. No, only for neurodivergent.
Let me supervise you and teach you how to be a BCBA that doesn't suck.
Yes. If you're interested in getting supervision, reach out to Kelsey.
Look at the panic.
Wait. We're a mess.
He wanted to get down, but the wires were really scaring him.
He's scared.
So yeah, that's my soapbox. I'll keep getting on it. I'll probably never stop, but I think I'm just very tired.
They're gonna be like, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Now we got another dog.
Oh. Where are we at timing wise? Because the timer didn't work. Yeah.
We're just out here doing the best we can. We're just
vibing. Oh, that's not bad.
No.
Yeah. So, you asked me a very specific question that I had a 25-minute answer for, about what makes me different.
Wait, and we always do this.
But I think, I think that's one way that makes me different is, like, I don't just look at it through the lens of, like, one thing.
You see context. You see everyone has unique lives, needs. We have another dog that wants to hang out with us.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your group.
Yeah, my group is fun. It's like do I use some behavior analytic principles in the group? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, it's mostly more, it's really me, again, like, understanding and learning from autistic people about their lived experiences, and then just providing them a space to share that.
And the group, there's so much happening.
This is why Tom wanted to put one of the dogs upstairs.
And the group members love it.
Sweethearts.
They're so sweet.
Bunch of sweethearts.
They're so sweet. And I just feel like it's such a great... The dogs are mooing.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's such a great space for these individuals, just have, like, a contained space to be able to talk about how they feel, talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Just, like, whatever they're needing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's really, you know, I think the biggest learning curve for me is, like, how do I facilitate conversation? Like, how do I have enough to talk about, but also, like, let it be their space?
Yes. Which I feel like with groups, that can oftentimes be tough in terms of how much do I step in? How much do I lead? How much do I let the group members lead?
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that for me too is how much of it do I want to teach something?
Okay.
And how much of it do I want to just, like, let them have what they want out of it? Because there are certain areas that I see, and this is just, like, a social skills thing in general.
Yes.
Like, there are certain areas you see with social skills, like, a big thing is, like, making reciprocal comments. Like, how do I know what to say in response to what you just said?
Yes.
And how do I do it in a way that, like, makes sense?
Keeps the conversation
going.
Let them know that you hear them.
Yeah. And so I think for me, I'm trying to, like, figure out, you know, because these are adults. So I have to respect that they're adults.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to provide, like, even just, like, a pause, like, just a delay, just to see if I can give some space for a response, right?
And showing that that's okay and that's an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. But also I think sometimes it can be beneficial for people to feel the awkward pause.
Yes.
Because there we go. Because I think that also is, like, a nice cue. Like, oh, like, I feel weird. Maybe I should be doing something here. You know, but I think the question mark for me, and maybe this would be something that you would have some ideas on, is I think that, you know, this idea of, like, social confidence is tough. And like, how do you get there? Because to me, like behaviorally, I would say, practicing this skill in like a supportive environment is like one way to build confidence.
To create safety, like being able to practice these things and start to learn that it's safe to communicate in this way and feel more confident. That I work with a lot of people that struggle with social anxiety, especially younger people, especially people that I feel like were in college or younger during COVID.
Oh my God, y'all are suffering. Y'all need help.
It's really hard. I feel so bad because I have a lot of, come on. We have another visitor. Come on. Oh. There's a lot of stimuli. Here we are.
Welcome to the zoo.
Why are they all?
Elliot, sit down. Yeah, you got to tell him to sit. Sit your butt.
Okay.
There you go.
So, this episode. I
love the chaos of this episode.
I've kissed 2 dogs today.
So, Ashleigh's being kind of a slut.
We're going to take that out.
Just kidding. We're talking about therapy. Look, if there's an opportunity for a joke, I'm going to make it. That was good. Are you really going to cut that out? No, that's funny.
No, it is funny.
Yeah. Fuck, what were we talking about? Anxiety.
We were talking about... We're not okay. Nikita, come back.
She'd lean into that.
What? Yeah, she would. She would think that's funny as hell.
Oh my God, I love that.
She would make like a very subtle, like witty comment back about that. She'd be like, hell yes. That's right.
Wait, what? I love how they keep wanting to kiss me. My dog's me jealous.
He's
Sorry,
kind of
Tyler.
like smiling.
I'm going to have to tell my husband about this.
Oh my God. Future husband. Yeah, tell us about social anxiety and confidence while Elliot kisses your mouth.
So...
You might have to give him like a firm no. Like he responds very well to like while you're petting him. Okay, behavior analysis in practice.
Okay, what should I do right now?
When you touch dogs, tells them do more.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you ever want to give like feedback to a dog, like don't touch them while you're doing it.
Stay away. Look, see? Now he's like, she's not touching me. She's done. Okay.
You also need to make the feedback contingent on the behavior. So like if he was licking you, like that would be a time where you would say like a firm no.
Well, my dog is not the most well behaved, so I feel like I might need to like hire you.
Girl, I'm ready. He went over to his dad.
But yeah, she's like, Dad.
Yeah.
So social anxiety,
Tell
COVID.
Us. Yeah, I mean, y'all are struggling. I mean, have you ever... We might have like 18, 19, 20-year-old listeners on here, but
yeah, some of my clients listen. They've been telling me.
I mean, like, I talk to you guys and I'm like...
Anybody out there?
Are you good? And like we see it. That's the thing. Like, and you have to empathize.
Well, and it's so interesting because I work with because I'm in Philly, I work with a lot of people that are in college or are are now graduated, but were in college during COVID. And I feel like even if you don't go to college, that age range is so important to so many developmental milestones. Like I feel like we always talk about development in terms of, childhood, being very young. Like there's so much that happens in like the young adult
just
age
exposure range. Like just like exposure to different people,
your first job, maybe your first sexual experience. Like I have a lot of that that I'm noticing comes up. So what I notice a lot is, especially people that were in college during COVID, they were very isolated. If they were, supposed to go away to college, they weren't able to, so they were stuck in the house. Mm-hmm. They weren't able to hang out with friends. Maybe they didn't have, I work with a lot of people that have, work with a lot of stuff related to like sex and sexual intimacy. So let's say I have a client that is now 23 and they were in college during COVID. They have never had a sexual experience because they were stuck in their house.
Yeah.
They feel very behind. There creates all this kind of like social anxiety and pressure that comes up because they feel behind socially.
Yeah, and it's like, how do I catch up?
How
like,
do I catch up?
It's not like you can just create sexual... I mean, you can.
Yes.
But you can't just create, like... The natural development of like what we were exposed to is so different because like I don't know about you, but like when I was in middle school, I had a boyfriend.
Yes.
Right? And like I remember our first kiss happening like at like a fair or like no, it was
my first kiss was on a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, so I remember it was a party, like it was like a little cute backyard party with other kids our age, and I remember us sneaking behind a tree and kissing each other. Innocent, like very exciting.
Exactly. So like all these things of like, you know, meeting new friends, maybe your first time away from home.
Yeah.
Having your first sexual experience. I don't know, like people people use drugs recreationally, drinking, like that is an explorative thing. They don't get to do that.
It kind of like loosens that inhibition, right?
Yes, it's all these like this explorative time of your life they didn't get because there was context again, right? They're stuck in the house, so they don't get to explore these parts of themselves. And then when COVID was over and it was like everyone come back into the world,
y'all don't know how to talk to each other.
They were like, wait, now I'm this age, I missed all of these things, and now I need to start doing that.
Yeah.
Which now I have so many people that come to me and they have so much anxiety because they feel like they're behind. They feel like they missed out on experiences they'll never get back.
Yeah.
And it creates a lot of social anxiety. It creates a lot of lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And, you have to empathize. Like, I mean, I think a lot of people, you heard me complain about it where I'm like, y'all need Jesus. But it's not your fault.
Lord,
it's not,
hear my prayer.
It's not your fault.
No.
It's not your fault. And
Life happens.
I think the other thing that's tough about it, too, is like COVID changed, like the methods of communication and
100%.
relationships for a lot of people, right? So if you feel social anxiety and you feel lack of confidence and you're in a social setting and you're going to class, you don't have to be forced to engage with that. No. You can just escape by looking at your phone and looking at a screen, right? So there's to me, there's a lot of like escapism. I notice it in myself as well.
Oh,
like
100%.
I've been trying to pay more attention to when I pick up my phone unnecessarily. And I've started to notice it's like when my thoughts wander, especially back to work stuff, outside of work hours, that is when I'm picking up my phone.
Because distraction.
And I wasn't queuing into that until I really was like, I need to actually.
Until your phone was like, you have 17 hours.
Fuck. Yeah. Well, because Tom and I have had a lot of conversations about like how there is a lot of escapism for me. And there is a lot of phone use for me. And I don't want to use my phone as much as I do, but at the same time, like the work we do is just like you have to be on and just going. And, then when you have a second,
you don't want to be on.
I don't want to be on.
I don't want to use my brain. I don't want to talk. No, I struggle with that also. And a big thing that me and Tyler have been doing is, and I also recommend this to a lot of the clients I work with that are in relationships, is if you are saying, okay, I'm going to spend intentional time with my partner, leave your phone at home. Like if me and Tyler go to dinner or, we're going to go for a walk with our dog, we'll both be like, let's leave our phones home.
Tom is really good at that. And there will be times where I will be like, Tom, take my phone so I don't look at it.
Like I left it home. He's like, what's that in your pocket?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to look at this. I have no reason to look at this.
Yeah.
And so like take it so that way I can be like more fully in the moment.
Not be distracted.
Yeah.
Which I feel like a lot of these people that I work with are very distracted. We're using a lot of social media, so it's very hard to engage in person.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that what Ashleigh's saying is throw your phone in the ocean.
Put your phone down and be present.
Yeah, and do stuff that's uncomfy. Do stuff that so one of my favorite, and I credit a lot of my like feelings of independence and confidence came from when I went to grad school. I moved to a place I had never visited. I picked an apartment, Michigan.
Oh my! Wait, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so I went to Western Michigan for my master's.
Idea.
I visited once. I visited for the weekend. It was actually a weekend long interview process. But I found an apartment that I'd never seen in person. I said I'm going to live here, and then I went and I lived there, and I didn't know anybody. I had no friends.
That's the best thing you can do.
And I had never traveled by myself before. I had never flown by myself before. So I had those opportunities to do it. But also when I was in grad school, I found myself like not connecting with people very well there because they were like, I love a lot of people I went to grad school with, but also it was in the Midwest. And I was like,
it's a different
world, different culture,
You're
know?
You're like, I'm a Philly broad.
I know. I'm like, I got short hair. I got tattoos. I say a lot of curse words. And the girls there were not.
Girl, I'm
like
from
that.
Jersey, and
Yeah.
I've lived in Philly for 10 years. I'm also hardcore.
Yeah, like I'm not like that. So I found a hard time. And now I connected with certain people, like one of my best friends, Shannon. Like we're still best friends to this day. You know, I connected with some, but not a lot of people. And so then I would take myself to the movies by myself.
Wait, I love going to the movies alone.
Oh my God, do you want to go to the movies alone together?
And then pretend like we bumped into it. Yes. Wait, people used to always.
You wanted
my
to see
mom does that.
Nosferatu?
Yes.
Wow. Well,
People used to think I was weird, and I was like, I love it.
Bitch, I saw Moana twice by myself.
I went and saw Rogue One. Now I am a Star Wars queen.
Rogue One.
I also went to the movies by myself.
Tom talks about the Movie Pass era. Do you know what Movie Pass was? Have you heard of this?
No, what is it?
Tell the people, Tom.
Movie Pass was a time. Number one, it was a time capsule, but it was like a subscription service that was from, I want to say like 2017. It was only good for like a year, but you paid $9.99 a month. And you went to unlimited movies with it.
Yes, I know what this is.
He brings this up.
He was a member.
He brings this up all the fucking time.
Now he was a Fandango member.
It's so funny. It's like, you know that trope about like guys will be like, well, when I was in high school on the football team.
He's like, when I was a member of.
Yeah, that's Tom in Movie Pass.
Yeah, I love that.
No,
wait, that's kind of sick.
No, it was super sick. I wish I had taken a part of it because
I would see like 2 movies a week.
Yeah.
If not 3.
See, now people need to be more like Tom, being comfortable with himself, putting himself out there.
Yo, be weird. Be weird. Go to places by yourself. Yes. Even if it's just a coffee shop and you just sit there for 10 minutes.
Love that.
Right? Like that's
Go to
exposure.
A coffee shop. Listen, I've gone to a bar and had dinner at a bar by myself.
Yes, like take yourself out to dinner.
Take yourself out to dinner. If you're not comfortable sitting at a table alone, sit at a bar because then there's other people around. You might chat with the person next to you.
I love that. There was a time too when I think it was closer to when I moved in this house and I moved to this area. I felt like I didn't have a lot of friends. This was before jiu-jitsu and I met Nikita and all of that stuff. But I remember like there would be some like Fridays that I would like end work early and I would just like go get like sauced at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, and I would just make friends with people.
Friends.
I would bring a book.
There's always other people there that are also there alone.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey.
And they're all drinking, so they probably won't think you're that weird.
No.
Or you're that awkward.
They're like, she's so cool, just sipping on a beer reading.
Drinking a Corona.
Wait, why are we always go deep? Because we can't go high.
Drinking my fucking Corona, reading like a YA fantasy book.
I can't. I'm not okay.
But that's such.
Yes,
so I
going
think,
out of your comfort zone.
I love that you said that though, because I think I've been losing sight a little bit. I've been feeling a little imposter syndrome for group at times, and now that I'm thinking about what we're talking about, I'm like, well, actually, just the opportunity to just talk with people and just practice is a form of building self-confidence. So it is helping.
The group, I know. I'm like, wait, what was the question?
No, I think I was just talking about social group and about my anxieties about wanting it to like be what I want it to be.
The group already, like the group is helping people practice the skills, and also like let's even take like neurodivergence out of it. Let's just focus on the idea that people in general, no matter who you are, no matter your diagnosis, we have moments in life where we struggle socially, and like let's lean into that.
Yeah. And just give people time to connect.
Yeah,
and
to
talk
connect.
about
Like,
it.
hey, this thing came up at work, or a social thing came up, or hey, I was hanging out with my friends, or hey, wanna know what? I wanted to confront this person about something and I felt nervous about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm glad that I brought it up because that actually made me feel a little bit better about it.
No, you're doing great, and the group members love it.
I love them. They're such sweeties, and they're just like, I just, it's easy in this day and age with the fucking like presidency and all of like the stuff that's going on. That's stressful to like not have hope for the future. But then you talk with like these people, these young adults, and you like, they're just so lovely.
And they come every week. They love it. And we also have 2 spots left.
We do have 2 spots left.
Get in there, people.
Yeah, so if you want to talk and you want to absorb some of my like obnoxious yapping energy.
Her non-Michigan vibes.
I was like, you guys like still get chunky highlights here.
Yeah,
like,
you're
I'm not like
a
you.
dainty lady. I'm not a delicate flower.
Literally, and that's why my supervisor liked me so much because I was like, wouldn't just do whatever everybody else was doing. And I remember one time he like wanted me to like turn around in class to like show my hair, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Wait, you're like, am I like a
he was like turn around, and I was like, no, why? Why are you trying to make me do this? Are you kidding me?
Wait, I always joke because people are like, oh, where are you from? I was like, well, I was born in Florida. I was raised in New Jersey, and I've lived in Philly for 10 years. So I'm from all the places everyone hates.
Ashleigh is 200% more likely to stab somebody just based on the fact that she's lived in Florida.
In every state, that's the most aggressive states and cities in the world.
Yo, that's actually a great place to stop because we've just talked for a really long time. So join us on the next episode with Ashleigh while Nikita's being rehabbed. Who knows what we're going to talk about next?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll find out.
Bye. I don't know what happened. What are we going to talk about?